Yo, still bills, what's the deal, man? We back. I gotta head to go pick up my daughter from she had a hair appointment today. Bring Shorty home. I gotta make a quick grocery run, man. But Pete Game, I want to talk about something, man. That first week, I want to talk about Alicia Baumgardner and what I thought of her performance yesterday. But we're gonna speak on Anthony Joshua's performance first, man. I didn't get to see Caroline Dubois. I wanted to see her fight, and I was really looking forward to Ellie Scotty performing on this card, but she didn't. I was kind of disappointed about that because I wanted to see her fight. But Pete Gang, let's get into this shit, man. And now we gotta talk about Anthony Joshua, bro. It's a lot of people saying that this fight was fixed. There was a lot of people feeling like this fight was fixed right out the gate. They was already, you know how people just try to get ahead of the curve and just say, oh man, this shit finna be this and that and the third. It's bullshit, yada, yada, yada. So, and how the fight played out, they feel, it was a further indication that the fight was fixed, which I don't see how you can come to that conclusion because the fight didn't play out like a fixed fight. But a lot of people feel Anthony Joshua was pulling punches. First, let me say this about Jake Paul. Jake Paul is not an elite fighter. He's never going to be that. He is never going to be that, because by the time he could potentially become an elite fighter, he'll be at the tail end of his career. So he's not ever going to be no world-class elite fighter. However, that dude can fight. Let's not get it fucked up, man. He can fight. He can fight, man. He was protecting himself, pretty good early on, man. He was just, slightly getting his head off the line or slightly pulling back. He knew how far to pull back enough to where he wouldn't be completely out of position and, compromise his balance. Slightly bend his torso back and get out of the way of that devilish hook that was coming at him, man. He was doing real good in the pocket. Not real good, but I'm not going to say he was doing real good, but for who he was fighting against, how he was able to protect himself, for as long as the fight lasted, I want to say mainly the first 3 rounds or so, he did pretty good, man, just from his defensive capabilities. Man. And he is, one of them, he decided to take on that style of this elite, not elite, but back foot fighter, you dig? And I just, whatever with that, man. But he has good feet and he has good defense. I keep telling people this, the average nigga is not going to be able to do shit with Jake Paul or Logan. They're not going to be able to. The average nigga ain't doing shit with them dudes. I'm telling you right now, man. At the very least, they're very good amateurs. And I was talking to my man, what do I know about boxing? Shout out to homie Keith. But he said it best, bro. When you're training for sparring partners of that magnitude, Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okolie, who else was in there? Frankie Sanchez was in there. When you sparring the cream of the crop, and Jared Anderson isn't the cream of the crop, but Lawrence Okolie and Frankie Sanchez, those are top heavyweights. And when you getting rounds in with them dudes, it's only going to enhance your capabilities as a fighter. So let's not sit here and play this game that Jake Paul's he's not a trash fighter. He's not a world-class fighter. He's never going to be that. At least at the world-class level and championship boxing, because this level's the world-class as well. You can be a world-class amateur. I don't think he's a world-class amateur, but I do think he's a good amateur level fighter. And he's clear as day not ever going to be no world-class championship boxer. It's just not going to happen. But Jake Paul can fight. Let's stop playing games, man. But nonetheless, as far as the fight is concerned, man, we got to remember Anthony Joshua was off a 15-month layoff. That shit played a significant factor in this fight. And a short training camp. Now, did he need a long training camp? No, he didn't. He didn't, man. But game planning, nonetheless, is a motherfucker. You do have to, shit. You do have to implement a game plan. That's inevitable. You have to do that, and you just have to get your, knock the rust off your tools. You have to do that. And motherfuckers forget. Tank Davis was supposed to, Tank Davis was the opponent chosen up until a month or 2 ago, if that. So there's a multitude of things working against Anthony Joshua that led to him looking the way that he looked. Now, he never looked uncomfortable in there. I ain't gonna lie, man. Just after what's happened, just suffering 2 knockout losses. Any shot Anthony Joshua gets landed, anytime someone lands a shot on Anthony Joshua when he enters into an exchange, when he gets countered, I'm a little weary because it's like, dang, my nigga, I have seen you get slid up under the ring. I don't want that for you again. But, you know, that just comes with the territory. And I like how he said it in the fight. It's not my best performance. This wasn't a good performance, man. And when they was asking him about how, you know, he asked him something. He was like, dude, this is the job. I don't give a fuck about the legacy or nothing like that. In basketball, the opposition is going to score points, and you're going to score points. In boxing, I'm going to get hit, and he's going to get hit. It's give and take. The dude I fuck with how he has the mind of a reasonable, logical thinking dude. That's why I fuck with him. That's why I fuck with him. And he's a throwback fighter. Now, granted, he's had to come and, you know, kind of clean up the mess of these, you know, of Francis Ngannou and now this, you know, influencer. I'm not the biggest fan of that because I'm like, you're better than that. But, you know, whatever the fuck ever, man. When you wave the bat signal in the air, there it is. And a lot of people have been wanting to get Jake Paul to fuck about the mix for some years now. And with him being the dude to do that, it's ingratiated himself back in the hearts of a lot of the fans. It's a lot of people tweeting and making, you know, memes about this shit and everything, man. So shout out to him. But as far as the fight is concerned, man, he did look a little lethargic in there early on. He wasn't pulling punches. He couldn't gauge his. He's like, when it's that big of a skill gap, you can take chances. A lot more chances that could be costly if you was in there in front of a contemporary of yours. But he was trying for big looping hooks, and he just couldn't find a target early on, man. And you know, that's just what that was, man. He just, you know, let me knock these tools off let me knock these refs off the tools or whatever. Let me try for big shots, and we'll go from there. Jake Paul, right out the gate, you know, motherfuckers can fool you. And this is how, you know, this is why I'm always, you know, not always, but this is why I'm starting to side-eye a lot of these fighters in the now who just choose to fight off of the back foot. Because it's like, y'all are scared of engagement because y'all are, you know, just, it's a fear of being hit. And you may not protect yourself well enough in the pocket, and you may not be poised enough in the pocket to know how to act and know how to respond under a certain amount of duress. And that's what I saw from Jake Paul in there. And I'm not saying that he can't do that with other people on his level, but when you're in front of somebody, a 2-time unified world champion, it's a different ballgame. So even when he came out using his feet, he looked uncomfortable out the gate. He looked really uncomfortable in there. You know, usually people how they float and they glide around the ring is done with a certain, you know, like a certain type of bravado to them. They comfortable in there, they loose. You know, you can just see it in body language and body movement how comfortable they are. Right out the gate, I saw how uncomfortable he was with him grabbing the ropes, with just how jittery he looked. It didn't look, his movement didn't look as fluid in there. It didn't look as fluid, man. Like he would grab the rope. That right there is a sign of duress. You grab, not just grab, you know, it just, even how you grab the rope, him grabbing the rope, it's like, oh shit, I'm not supposed to grab the rope. Like you do uncharacteristic shit when you under a certain amount of pressure. That's what he was doing. I noticed that all fight long, right out the gate, I noticed that. And, you know, what another thing that people were saying, you know, they was giving, you know, saying that it was scripted or whatever, man. My thing is this, or it was boring, and it was supposed to be boring. Jake Paul's game plan wasn't to go in here and knock out no Anthony Joshua or win no decision. It was to go the distance. It was simply to go the distance. That's it. That's why he fought like that. But it's easier to do that when you're not standing in front of somebody that's maybe not at his prime, but close enough to it, that is 5 or 6 inches taller than you and 40 pounds heavier than you. And it's punching with bad intentions. It's a little bit different, man. So it's not just the physical aspect, it's the mental aspect of it as well. Like, I don't want to get hit by this dude. I do not want to get hit by this dude. And you saw every time he would let a shot go, I don't give a fuck if it landed on the guard, on the arm, it was moving him all over the ring. He threw a lot of left hooks at that dude, and it was sending him. It was legitimately sending this dude all over the ring. So that's just added pressure, you dig? That's added pressure. Like, yo, I don't want to get hit nowhere on no vital spot. The temple, the jaw, my nose. my midsection. I don't want to get hit nowhere, bro. He's jabbing this dude in the stomach. He's just not the stomach, but the chest, and he's flailing all over the place, hitting him with the right hand, and just anywhere, just landing it anywhere. And he's flailing all over the place. So around about, that happened for the third, I want to say around about the first 3 rounds. Jake Paul just didn't throw anything. He didn't throw shit. And why didn't he throw shit? Because what am I going to throw that's going to gain this dude's respect? And for me to gain this dude's respect, I'm going to have to eventually hold court in the middle of the ring or somewhere and let some shots go. And that's another thing to add to his gas tank, that the fact, just because he wants to adopt this style of being a slickster, he's stepping in and his thing was to get in and get out. Get in and get out. When you're exploding off of the back foot like that to close distance, to land a shot, you have to be able to maintain that level of stamina. You have to be able to maintain that. And he couldn't do it, which further dissipated his gas tank that much more. He couldn't do it comfortably. He couldn't do it comfortably. Like he could do it with everybody else. He couldn't do that shit comfortably in there with Anthony Joshua. That is a colossal sized human being, dog. Dude is a fucking machine. So for around about the first 3 rounds, he was doing that periodically. He was trying his best to pick his spots, but it was harder to. He would take a chance and do it, and sometimes he would have success. And he did slightly mark AJ's face up a little bit off of that jab that he landed, but it still was like, all right, cool, good jab. Like, it wasn't nothing like, he was like, oh shit, that was a buzzsaw of a jab. It was nothing like that. It was nothing like that. It was nothing like that. It was a good jab, though. And you just seen that his legs are waning. And Anthony, like AJ threw like this left hook. I don't know if it landed flush, but it did enough to where it, it took his legs away from him, man. He stepped on his back. He stepped wrong going backwards. And you seen it, his legs kind of like buckled or whatever. And he started, doing a little chicken dance and trying to get away from the dude. Everything really started unraveling around about the 4th round. It took all of 3 or 4 rounds to get this dude exhausted. So here comes the wrestling now. Here comes the wrestling tactics, the football tactics. Here comes all that shit. And the thing is, when you wrap up with somebody, you have to be able to outmuscle them or whatever. Otherwise, that shit is gonna, that's gonna work to your detriment. We saw that with Caleb Plant and David Benavidez. You have to be able to you have to have the strength to, maintain that, to maintain that physicality without it compromising you. This dude is 40 pounds heavier than you, and he's built like a Greek Titan. This is not going to be no dude that you can just easily muscle around, as we saw. And so then what ended up happening, and then he'd end up in a position where he's bent at the waist, and Anthony Joshua's forearm is on his back, further compromising that shit. Further compromising his gas tank. Simply push off. Just put my weight on him. Put my weight on him, and the rest of just. Oh, mom, don't start. The rest will sort itself out. And he just kept doing that. After a while, that shit, it takes energy to get up, to climb up off the canvas. It takes energy to bend at the waist. It takes energy to do all that on top of the access movement that you're already doing because of this style of fighting and approach of fighting that you wanted to adopt. So now his legs is compromised, completely compromised. Movement is gone. Anthony Joshua by this time is getting in a rhythm. He's starting to do a little bit better with cutting off the ring, being a little bit more surgical. He's landing. He's not headhunting as much. He's just hitting you wherever the fuck he wants to hit you at. Wherever the shot of land is where I'm gonna land it at. That hurts. Getting hit in the face takes your breath away from you. So you can imagine getting hit in the body. Everything is starting to hurt. Everything is starting to really, wear on your gas tank and compromise your, your stamina. Everything. So now he's falling all over the place. We got a couple knockdowns. And, the dude is just in there looking weary. He's in there looking real weary. Now comes the 6th round where, and the crowd is booing. The crowd is booing. The crowd is booing. You spent all this time, yeah, man, he ain't this and that and the third. People have just been irritated, but you bought into the gimmick, so you're only enhancing his profile. Like, niggas is like, you gonna watch the fight to see him lose, but you're watching the fight. I got your viewership. That's all he was trying to do. But people are still aggy with the fact that you really think that you like that. And you're still talking about becoming a world champion or whatever, man, after what we just saw. People are irritated with you, so they want to see you lose on that predication. They want to see you go in there and get crashed. They want to see that shit, man. So the crowd is getting restless. They booing. You not doing nothing. All the shit you was talking in the lead up in the press conferences, you ain't displaying none of that. You just in there running around the ring and getting an occasional jab, occasional cup and left hook in there. Nothing spectacular. And you're not doing it with it's no effectiveness to it. It's no effectiveness to it. Because his forward aggression isn't, halting or nothing like that. He's just moving you around the ring. And you in there fighting, you in there fighting scared. As you should. Because you're outgunned, you're outmatched. So all the wrestling comes in, all the wrestling tactics, and you keep finding yourself in a position where he has no other choice but to defend himself by pushing down on your, on your head or whatever. Or, doing some shit that's gonna knock you off balance so he ain't getting knocked down to the floor. Like, what are you doing? And even the ref is like, you gotta chill because the fans did not pay to see this shit. Salute to the ref on that. Is this what I'm supposed to turn? I think I'm supposed to turn right there. Salute to the ref on that. Salute to the ref on that. So now here we are in the 6th round, and you are just getting battered. You're getting pinned to the ropes of your own admission and due to his pressure. Getting pinned to the ropes. You're eating a lot of leather. You're eating uppercuts, jabs, just everything. You're just in there getting battered now. And the right hand that this dude set up, even when it's like coming out of the 5th round. Is it over there? I think it's over there. Coming out of the 5th round, he's like, sticking his tongue out. He's like, yeah, bro, I'm not taking it easy on you, my nigga. I told you that wasn't gonna happen. I'm coming in here to do that to you. He's letting your ass know. He banging on you. He who banging on you. Just being extra out on you. So going into the 6th, we knew what time it was. Like, yeah, this shit is about over with. And what happened? That devilish right hand that he put on you broke your jaw in 2 places, man. Stop playing with that brick. That's what this shit all really just boils down to. Stop playing with him. That dude is not sweet, man. Ain't shit sweet with him. Ain't shit sweet with him. Ain't shit sweet with that motherfucker, man. That nigga's a problem, bro. That nigga's a problem. But one thing I will say, I do like the fact that he did get a tune-up fight in. Was it the type of tune-up necessary to go in there and deal with the likes of Tyson Fury? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. But, you're fighting again. You made a nice little, 30 M's or whatever to get in there. Knock some of the tools, the rust off your tools. I can accept that. It just felt good to see you go in there. It did feel good to see you see some vindication for what you did to Mike Tyson last year. I'm not even gonna lie about that. It did feel good. It did feel good. Like, bet some get back on behalf of Mike, because you was out of pocket for doing that with Mike. You was out of pocket for doing that shit with Mike. So I am happy to see it, man, and I am happy to see that there is. I'm glad that he showed that there's levels to boxing. I will never, ever, ever be on the level of a pro. Ever. I've sparred pros before, but I'll never be on the level of a pro. Ever. Keep shit stacked. I won't ever be on the level of a Jake Paul. Jake Paul can fight. That dude can legitimately fight. I think this is it right here. That dude can scrap, man. Like, homeboy can rumble. But he's just not, he's not ever going to be no champion, bro. He's not ever going to be no champion. Anthony Joshua showed that there is levels to this shit. There's levels to it. He is not at that level. He'll never be at that level. Ever in life will he be at that level. It's not going to happen. Damn, where's the girl? It's never going to happen, man. So, and you saw that, you could talk all that. It wasn't a matter of skill. It was a matter of size. It was size and skill. It was like, because if it was a matter, certain shit that Anthony Joshua was doing as wide as he was punching, if you had a skill set, the skill set necessary, you would have been able to, dip up under them hooks, spin out, pivot out, put his back on the rope, and that would allow you scoring opportunities to go to work. You would have been able to do that. like a Usyk, but you couldn't. Why? Because it was a significant skill gap there. It was a significant skill gap. You didn't counter. Anthony Joshua was countering. None of the counters was really landing like that. A lot of his work was coming from him being first. Not him countering. He was missing a lot of those counters. You was getting out of the way early on. When you had your legs and a bit of your stamina intact still. So nah, man, let's not play this game like it was only the only reason why he won is because he's so much bigger than you. No, it's because he's better than you, and that's just what that is. If it was just a size thing with Anthony Joshua, Usyk would have went in there and got dominated by him. Usyk is an elite level fighter, an all-time great fighter. You're not ever gonna be that, but you can fight. You can definitely fight. Jake Paul can rumble. So yeah, man, I don't wanna hear this shit no more, man. I don't wanna. Jake gotta chill. Here we go, right here. Jake Paul gotta chill. You're not fucking with Anthony Joshua, my nigga. You're not fucking with AJ. You're not fucking with AJ. That dude is way too much. Way too much for you to deal with. Oh shit. Is it right here? I think it's right here. So yeah, man. That's how I'm feeling though, man. Shout out to Anthony Joshua on his win. Dominant performance, dominant win. I hope we get you and Fury in the summertime. I really do. Because that is what we need, to settle this shit once and for all. Because that fight should have been taking place. I don't know where Jake Paul goes from here. You're not finna go up. You're not finna fight no Ja. You're not finna fight no Rosinski, no CBS, no Zordo, no, Mikhailian, Badu. You're not finna go up there and tangle with none of them dudes, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, but just keep World Championship boxing name out your mouth, because it's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. So yeah, man, that's how I'm feeling about it. Deuces.